Have you ever wondered why chopsticks are used in China? About 2,000 years ago, the Chinese decided to ditch the fork and fully embrace the chopstick. But why? Let's hop back in time. First came the spoon. Archaeologists digging up the famous Banpo site near Xi'an found dozens of spoons. Not just any spoons, very old spoons. 7,000-year-old spoons. Soup, stew, and porridge-style foods were the daily diet back then, so spoons ruled the table. Then, about 5,000 years ago, the fork made its grand entrance. In Qinghai's Zhongru site, part of the Majia culture, they uncovered a three-pronged bone fork, nearly 26 centimeters long, with sharp 9 centimeter tines. Honestly, it looked like something you'd expect at a medieval banquet, except it was from Neolithic China. By the Qijia culture 4,000 years ago, forks were getting fancy. One bone fork from Gansu was flat, almost identical in shape to modern forks. So yeah, during the age of the legendary Yellow Emperor, people were already experimenting with stylish cutlery. But here's the mystery. After that, forks kind of disappeared. In the Shang and Zhou dynasties, you find the occasional fork in tombs, but not many. Then, during the Warring States period, forks suddenly came back, but this time mostly with 2 prongs. But that was their last hurrah, because after the Han dynasty, forks basically went extinct in Chinese dining. Meanwhile, the latecomer, chopsticks, which first show up as bronze utensils in the Shang dynasty, were spreading like wildfire by the Qin and Han. So why the switch? Number 1, diet. Forks were best suited for meat. They worked fine if you wanted to spear a chunk of roast pork or grab some cold cuts. But in ancient China, meat was rare. It was mostly eaten by nobles and kings. Ordinary farmers lived on grains, vegetables, and stews. It's no surprise then that most fork discoveries are from aristocratic tombs, not peasant homes. But speaking of vegetables, you might be wondering about carrots and potatoes, since they, like meat, are quite easy to spear with a fork. Well, carrots arrived in China around the 12th century, and potatoes came later in the 16th century. So you didn't need your fork for roast potatoes and carrots, because you didn't have any. Number 2, cooking style. By the Han dynasty, Chinese cooking was already focused on boiling, braising, and stewing. Soups and hot pots dominated. Imagine trying to spear floating cabbage with a fork. It could easily be quite messy and awkward. Chopsticks, on the other hand, could dive right in. The ancient text, Book of Rites, even mentions chopsticks specifically for fishing food out of soup. Number 3, pre-cut food. Chinese chefs were masters of knife work and cut up food long before it hit the table. By the time of Qin and Han, that's a 1,500-year-old cookbook, we already see techniques like slicing, shredding, dicing, and mincing meat. So when the dish arrived, everything was bite-sized. No need for a knife and fork at the table. 2 little sticks did the job perfectly. Number 4, status shift. Once even the elites, who used to rely on forks, switched to chopsticks for their delicately prepared banquets, forks lost their only real user base. And with nobles setting the trend, everyone else followed suit. So here's the takeaway. Forks in ancient China were like the beta version of cutlery. Promising, but too specialized. Chopsticks were the upgrade. Versatile, practical, and perfect for the food culture. That's why, 2,000 years later, they're still the tool of choice across East Asia.